Hi there, I'm Rick, and this is your seat at the table, and this is a Polyhendron Newszine. And you know what? I did a video, and I don't know if I posted it or not just yet, but I did it. Mrs. Mr. Bergran, Men's Oberzan. And this was in the box, and this would be January '91, and the Polyhendron Newszine for the RPGA Network, or the Role Playing Gaming Association, which I was a member of for a long time. And then I don't know, things changed, and I'm not sure if they went to I'm sure they stopped producing it, but anyway. So we have our list of conventions: Chicago, Charlottesville, Worcester, Plattsville, Rosemont, Illinois, Lincoln, Nebraska, Mount Vernon, Quincy, Illinois. Sometimes you'll see these things and they'll have listings for events that are going on in other countries too. I always was interested in looking at them, because you never knew who was going to crop up, and you might get lucky and find somebody close by. Here was April of '91 was Andromeda 1 in Lincoln, Nebraska. This convention will be held at the Ramada Inn at 141 North 9th Street. Convention activities include role-playing games, theaters room, 24-hour video room, art show, panels, discussions, guest of honor, Catherine Kurtz for more information, blah, blah, blah. And so we there in Charlottesville, Virginia. Let's see, we're Worcester, Maryland. This convention will be held February 25th to the 27th in 1991 at the Sheridan Worcester Hotel and Conference Center, 500 Lincoln Street. Schedule will include a D&D game, Assault, Axis and Allies, Battletech, Call of Cthulhu, Car Wars, Champions, DC Heroes, Diplomacy, GURPS, Shadowrun, Space Hawk, and Star Wars. Over 120 scheduled games. Also schedules a miniature painting contest. Registration at the door is $10, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I miss those days. The wife and I used to go to some of these conventions and things. Like I said, I don't know. We got older and life changed, and there aren't any in town anymore. And I can't afford to drive outside it. I just can't afford to drive to another town or another state for a convention, because it's not just the amount of time; it's the time you got to take off, plus the cost of driving to and from, and you have to worry about the vehicle. My vehicle has been pretty, dependable, but I don't know if I'd want to take it out as any long-range drives anymore. And if we did have a breakdown somewhere, it would be horrific, because we would not be able to fucking pay to get it fixed. And then how the hell would we get home? Then there's the cost of a hotel room and the incidentals like food, and getting into the convention and stuff. And anymore, unless that convention happens in your hometown, technically speaking, you got to be at least moderately wealthy. And I toss that term around a lot, but I don't think people understands what that means anymore. I'm just telling you, between the wife and I, we're making about 50 grand a year, and we are poor. We are struggling. There is not hardly any excess for anything anymore. I mean, could never have sustained my game hobby to the level I did when I was younger today. I just couldn't do it, not on the income I have. I need to be making twice what I'm making, and that's not going to happen. I mean, anyway, so we got notes from headquarters, the Living City, a contest, a mascot contest, right? Yeah, it says here, though now I'm editing rather than teaching, I'm still in the words business. That's a good thing, since I love words. Oh, I'm no linguist prodigy, and though I have had a few years of study, I am still surprised and delighted by words every day, blah, blah, blah. Elminster's Ever-Winking Eye, Treasures of the Vast, Part 3, from Ed Greenwood. Ed Greenwood was a founding father of Dungeons and Dragons, if you're not familiar with him. He was the second generation of people that got really involved in it, and he started writing material that became Forgotten Realms, and a lot of novel material. So, I mean, if you don't know who Ed Greenwood is, by the love of God, you should learn about him, for love of Pete. How can you not know about this guy? I would love to have a conversation with that man. I really would. I mean, I wouldn't want to involve. I would not want to intrude on his life in any way, and I wouldn't know how to connect to him anyway. And who the hell am I? Why would he want to talk to me? Anyway, Shh, by Mary Kunzak, the DM background, player introduction. So there's another little mini adventure going on in here. Always nice. Hill of Thorns, Servants, the Living City, the Swineherd's House. Another installment for the Living City that is basically a play setting within the Forgotten Realms world, a city-state that is basically the envisioned and created by the creators of the RPGA. I mean, just the TSR and included it in their, in the game canon. I mean, it's great. So on and so forth. So we got 3 different mini adventures in here. Then we have The Living Galaxy, Onions, Plot Trees, and Adventure Chains, Epic Campaigns Part 3, Layers of Mystery. In the previous 2 installments of this column, we looked at the overall themes that long-playing campaigns could have in science fiction games. Here we look at the nuts and bolts of actually wielding a campaign and its adventures together. Layers of Mystery, from the top down. Growing of the Plot Tree. Adventure Chains. Right. And we get Into the Dark, When Good Toys Go Bad. Oof. Right. What the hell is this? Looks like movies. Yeah. 1988 Child's Play with Chucky, I'm guessing. 1992 Toys. And there's Demonic Toys from 1991. I'm not sure I ever heard that one. With Great Power, Constructing Random Adventures. Comes a time when every campaign, superhero game, or otherwise, and the GM runs out of ideas. Maybe she is tired, sick, or just doesn't have the adventure ready. Yeah. Just in either case, the GM still has work to do. The chart results are merely the barest bones of an adventure. The GM needs to flesh out the ideas listed below with NPC settings, role-playing opportunities, etc. So they give you a little micro chart in here of ideas like My Hero, A Challenge, A Dying Messenger, The Enigma, New Evidence, Heroes for Hire, Imposters, Extortion, NPCs in Peril, Emergency, Visitors, Bomb, Coercion, Up, and Hey! For some reason unknown to the heroes, their powers become erratic, deteriorating until they disappear completely. The GM must come up with a suitable reason to do this. Exposure to radioactivity or toxic waste in some past test the hero's mental. That brought to mind a brief campaign I ran. Oh, geez, this you really going back to the early 80s, mid 80s for sure. I did this campaign, and I don't know, I had seen something about Jack and the Beanstalk, and I thought, that would be a great set. Let's do something like that. Which is, that's an atypical, Jack and the Beanstalk myth is the atypical frickin' adventure for any kind of sword and sorcery game system, as far as I'm concerned. And so it started out basically the characters were traveling between point A and point B, and then suddenly something happened, and I don't remember what triggered it, but they basically become lighter than air and started to float off. They literally floated away, and they were floating up higher and higher in the sky, and the characters were trying to desperately figure out A, what to do about that, B, how to get back down to the ground, and C, were they going to die, and not necessarily in that order. And eventually, though, they spotted what looked like a giant strange cloud just kind of hovering nearby, and I mean a very large, like an island in the sky kind of thing. And so they started getting pretty creative to find a way to get their trajectory to go, so they would at least, because they started to realize that they were drifting with the wind, and if they flapped their arms sufficiently enough, maybe they could get close enough. So they eventually got on the island, and the island, of course, was magical and a floating island, and it had all kinds of nasty little stuff on it, including a big castle with a honking giant living in it. And there you go. I think they were second and third level characters, so it turned out to be a hell of an adventure, and most of it was ad-libbed on as I went along, but I had a basic foundation for something to start with. And sometimes, one of the difficulties for being a DM, and this is something that they don't go on and tell you about too often, is that improvisation thing. Sometimes not everybody has a talent for being able to make things up on the go. Some people depend on the pen, paper, and note stuff, and a little or a lot of preparation depending on the individual. So we're going to let me go back and look at this little article one more time. So constructing random adventures. So we have a series of small microcharts, and just for shits and giggles, let's do that for a minute. So let's roll on the first chart. We'll roll a 10-sided dice, and I get a 6. So 6 is NPC in Pearl. typical starting for a lot of adventures. You see somebody that's in trouble and you run to their rescue. Oh, I should use a d20. There's 20 on this list. We'll stick with the 10, that first 10 roll. That's good enough. And we go on to complications. So let's roll 2, and we get 5 and 1 is 6. I end up with 6 again anyway. Break the law. NPC and Pearl, break the law. And then we have a quote, and that only has a 10 on it. Motives, no, motives. And there's a D10 there. 3, insanity. And we move on to the next one. It was a quote. 3. You thought you were so clever, so smug in your safe little world. All right. So basically, here's your four working scenarios. There's an NPC in Pearl involving breaking the law. So are you breaking, in order to help the NPC, are you going to break the law? Or is the NPC in trouble because they broke the law? And you now are trying to help them avoid getting in trouble, further in trouble. And then there is, the motive is insanity. So the question is the NPC insane? Are the characters suffering some kind of temporary insanity? Or perhaps the bad guys, the quote bad guys, are insane? I mean, you got to figure those three factions in, and then they even give you the starting line. So we went and said, where is that? You thought you were so clever, so smug in your safe little world. Well, who's the clever one now? Tell me who! So either the bad guys are telling that to the NPC in Pearl, or the NPC in Pearl is yelling at the bad guys. I mean, that sort of stuff is neat as hell. I've always liked it, and it really makes you get very creative, because I mean, what if you have an ambush, a deadline with ideology involved, and a quote going, your feeble minds cannot conceive the awesome grandeur of my designs. I do not expect such dolts to comprehend my ingenious plans. So that quote combined with ambush and frickin', whatever the hell it was I said, right? So, necromagic, magical items for the necromancers in the D&D game. So we have a gloom candle, juju wine, gas salve, nether scarab, and a shadow blade. Tournament, gassed salve. Only a few powerful necromancers know the secret of creating this sticky green ointment. The cream's powers activate 1 round after being spread upon the recipient's body. The recipient gains immunity to perilous and to the stench of gas. The user of gas salve includes the same stench as a gas and can paralyze others by touch as the victim fails to save versus paralyzation. The one drawback of gas salve is that it reacts strongly to holy water. If struck by holy water, the user of gas salve suffers damage as though truly undead. 1d6 plus 1 damage for a direct hit, etc., etc. Typically 1d3 jars, each containing 3 applications of the salve, will be found. XP value is 500 per jar, and gold piece value is 1200 per jar. So, tournament politics, writing and requesting events for conventions, writing tournaments. The RPGA network sanctions 1, 2, and 3 round events based on mini rolls. So that was one of the allures of the RPGA, the Role Playing Gamers Network. I don't know if anybody out there was ever a member of that group. I know I was, and I was involved in we had a big club here for a number of years, and I really miss that stuff. I do, and I have no idea how to go back. Those people are long gone. I wouldn't even know where to begin trying to connect with anybody, and I'm not sure I could, and trying to find new stuff. Or you hear me cry and bitch and bone about all this crap. Anyway, the thing about that is that you could create, if you could get enough people together, you could have your own convention. You can do that right now. You could set up a mini convention at You know, I could go to Mayhem or Jay's Sadie Hobby, either one of them. They have gaming tables. I could bring some material, set up an impromptu game, and invite anybody to sit down and play. I mean, that can be your little mini convention. That's something that I intend to do when I get a little older and I get to a retirement point, when I get to what might be considered retirement. I don't know how, I don't know how to go about it. Part of it is I need to be able to go 3 or 4 hours a week, or every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks would be nice. Say 4 hours for every 2 weeks, and I'd need to have it on a regular day so I could go on at the same time every day at the same time. And I would need somebody's blessing, because I feel bad. I don't want to go out in the evenings. I don't get enough evenings at home as it is, and so I would do during the day, but it would still be. And I don't want to. I'm not going to be dishonest about it. It's just I don't know how to work it out. And right now is what it is. But you could set up a convention back in the day. You could have a convention pretty much anywhere that you wanted, and then you could apply to the RPGA network and get sanctioned campaign material. So you could run a RPGA event at a local. You don't even have to be a member of the convention. If you're going to attend that convention and you're a member or were a member of the RPGA, of the Role Playing Gamers Association back in the day, then you could set up and run, and it would be accredited. The players, if they were members of the RPGA, would get points, and those points a ranking for players and things like that. Which it really, other than I don't know, some kind of weird bagging rights. No. And it goes on about writing tournaments, requesting tournaments. It says right here, any tournaments ran at a convention incurs a fee of $10 per round, whether you need tournaments or to have them on hand. The one exception is that authors need not pay for their own tournaments at their own conventions. So if you're requesting material from them to run at your place, they're going to charge you $10 a pop, which is fine. I mean, that was not that expensive. And we got our standard disclosure form for the, I suppose I should change my camera view, right? So, Necromagic, Tournament Politics, the standard disclosure form. So I wish to submit the following materials for your consideration for publication by the RPGA network, subject to all the conditions listed below. Working titles of submission and brief descriptions, please print. Then we get on to the wonderful classifieds, and I ran classifieds off and on in this thing over the years. There was, when I really was jonesing for having a BattleTech game in the late 90s, or no, in the early 90s. I couldn't get any of my friends to want to play it. I just couldn't, and it was so frustrating. So I did an ad and hoping to find players, and I couldn't find any players in the local area that answered the ad. I'm sure there are very few of them that got the damn magazine in my area anyway. But what I did do was get a number of people who wanted to play, but they lived out of the country. They literally they were either in the military or there was one fellow that lived in South America. And we did a play-by-post version of BattleTech through the mail for a couple of years. It had its ups and downs, I can tell you that. So here's Alabama, 38-year-old, looking for a few good men and women in Metro Birmingham area to game with any session. See, so I'm not the only one. Belgium, a poor lonesome GM player in the area named Liege in Belgium, looking for players or existing game groups to play in. Canada in Quebec. Female, 21-year-old gamer seeking pen pals. Sure. General wanted SSI, DM's Assistant Volume 1. Program with monster lists. Florida. 25-year-old female role player with over 15 years gaming experience looking to add new players and GMs to her current Port St. Lucie gaming group. We play the AD&D 2nd edition game with some old veteran rules. I'd like to have played in that camp. I'd like to have played at that table. That sounds like a table I would have enjoyed being at. Attention clubs, General for sale, A&D original edition rulebooks. Somebody trying to get rid of their collection. General wanted gaming materials for, ironically, a guy looking to sell his crap, a guy wanting to buy his crap. General Dragon Slayers Unlimited is looking for new members, another club. General wanted to buy TSR GDQ 1-7 White Dwarf magazines. General for sale, Dragon magazines back issues to issue 58. Dungeon issues 1 through 137, and Polyhendron Newszine issues 28 through 85, and many out-of-print D&D game modules. Right? General. I'm a player with 10 years of gaming experience on my belt and looking for players' gyms to form a gaming group in the Philly area. General. DM looking for following modules, blah, blah. General. One at Polyhendron. Sure. General, looking to trade for a copy of the Buck Rogers 25th century game, not the new High Adventures game. Items offered in exchange include Fantasy Hero 2 2nd Edition, Perfect Condition, AD&D Original Edition Player Handbook, periodicals, and other RPG materials. This guy was willing to give you a box of crap for that one version of the Buck Rogers. That's typical. That's typical. That's how a lot of people we are. We have a favorite. We get into the games and we love this era or this issue, or this edition, or whatever. And the next thing comes along and it just doesn't trip or trigger. And sometimes we get left behind. It is what it is. So there you go. And then you got a nice little uninhabited, the vast caverns. Right? I know a fella on YouTube, by way of not YouTube, but I don't know him. I know him a little bit. He's a really nice guy. He's connected to the RPG Brigade Network on Facebook. When I first started this channel, he stumbled across it, and he did a lot of. And he does this with everybody, with all the channels. When he finds channels he likes, he basically broadcasts to everybody he knows. And he's got a couple thousand subscribers, so that helped. It really gave me a boost back in the day. And his wife has family in Nebraska. And there was one year where him and his wife and them, they were going to Nebraska to see his family. And the irony of ironies is they literally drive, to get to where they were going, they're taking Interstate 80. And Interstate 80, I can see Interstate 80 through my kitchen window. So I told him, I said, you're literally going to drive within eyesight of my house. You guys, you could just stop by for 5 minutes to say hi. Wouldn't that be grand? Wouldn't that be grand to stop by for a half hour, give your family let them get out and stretch their legs. Well, hell, we'll make meal for y'all. We'll have food for you, and so we can meet and maybe do a video together, because it would have been cool as shit. But his wife wasn't keen on it, and I understand, because they were driving from upper northwest somewhere. I'm not exactly sure anymore where they lived at, but it was quite a drive. And if you have any clue what long distance driving's like, you don't really. I don't know. It doesn't sound. They weren't planning a vacation. This was like a holiday thing, and she just wanted to get there. And when they were done, and they wanted to go home. And so they basically drove past my house twice. Such is life, right? Such is life. But the reason I said that is because he is a killer map maker. He makes some awesome catacombs, and he does it just for fun. And they're very detailed and very intricate. And I told him, and many people have told him over the years, Jesus, dude, you should submit those. You should submit those to all the different game companies, because somebody will buy them. Somebody will find uses for them. Somebody will like them. They're that good. They're that good. And I don't say shit like that just to say it, because look, I'm experienced at this crap. I know what's good and what I know what's not good. And it's not just an opinion neither. So anyhow, I'm Rick. You're not. That's a Polyhendron magazine, and maybe we'll do more of them up the road when we start thinning out my other crap, because that's going to happen eventually anyway. So from Missy and I, have yourself a great week.